Hey guys, welcome to a review of our third session of our multiplayer game. This time, a very interesting session, a lot of stuff happening. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't watched the other videos from recording. If you want to, just check the link below. And also, this review will be slightly different because I'll be mostly focusing to things from my point of view instead of just talking about what happened. But of course I still have to mention a few things that were kind of crucial for this session. So this is before the session started. Actually the starting save of the session. And if you remember, well, UK was gearing up for a war against USA during the previous session. That didn't actually happen. And I didn't really expect them to do anything about that because they seemed like they were abandoning that idea. Like close to the end of their previous session, but they actually decided to attack them along with Mexico. Mexico attacked for their course, and UK brought some troops to Canada. Obviously Canada is released, and I think that is a good move. Not only that weakens USA in a sense that USA doesn't get all the immigrants right now, they also go to Canada, but also this way Canada will grow and will become one of the strongest allies of UK. Meanwhile, in Europe, we have Italy and Austria-Hungary formed. Now, I'm currently I was actually fighting a war against two Sicilies, because I lost war to Germany, but then Germany lost two Sicilies, actually Sicily, to rebellion. So, what you gonna do? I just restore order to Sicily. Anyway. In Asia, nothing too interesting happening. Dynam was at that point still alive. That's basically the only interesting thing. So I'm now switching to our current save. And just a side note, actually I should mention this before. So let me mention the treaties. We had German Empire allied to Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Scandinavia. Actually, were they actually allied to Ottoman Empire? I think they weren't. Anyway, they also had a non-aggression pact with France and alliance with Belgium, so basically they were allied to all of their neighbors except Netherlands and Russia. On the other hand, Ottoman Empire had a defensive alliance with United Kingdom and the alliance with Austria-Hungary, I believe. Italy, no allies, no pacts, nothing. France, as I said, non-aggression pact with Germany, non-aggression pact with Austria, defensive alliance with UK, and I think that's it. Yeah. Russia didn't have any official treaties. Also, Russia has a new player instead of Marconi. Buzzards is playing them now. And yeah, that seemed to cause a lot of trouble in Europe. I'm switching to a current save right now. So what happened in British-Mexican-American War was that it didn't actually start so well for UK. I'm gonna start again now. And actually they were pretty easily beaten in the north, and I was expecting USA to actually win that war, but for some reason, I don't know what happened there. They committed too many troops to Mexico or something. In any case, UK managed to come back and make a huge offensive, and basically all of the eastern coast of USA was occupied. And as you can see, their industrial score dropped so much that they basically, I think, have less industrial score than they had in the beginning, which is terrible. Anyway, they lost a huge war there. They lost a course to Mexico. I think they only lost one. Well, that's not a huge deal. And they also lost New England to UK. So that's pretty much obvious that UK and Germany are now, and USA, sorry, are like going to be fighting each other until the end of the game. That's kind of obvious. So we have an interesting picture and an interesting color in Europe. Poland-Lithuania was released by Germany. So what happened here was Germany and Austria had truces with France and Italy. And Russia had no treaties with France, so Germany decided to attack Russia for a releasing of Poland-Lithuania. And that went very well for them. Let me just close the fucking Steam. I hate Steam. There we go. So they managed to win the quick war against. Actually, it wasn't really that quick, but Russia had no chances there. Their organization was really low, and they lacked military attacks. So Russia and Austria just completely overrun them. That was at that point I was actually I was preparing for a war since the beginning of the session, because I knew Austria and Germany are going to attack me, because I offered I made an offer to Austria to give me South Tyrol, and I leave them like in peace for the rest of the game or something, or 20 years or anything. They just refused it. Refused any kind of deals with me, so it's pretty obvious that Austria was going to attack me at some point, sooner or later. So as soon as they finished the war with Russia, they were preparing for a huge war against me, and that slowed me down quite a bit, because not only my industry suffered, my economy suffered, but also my tech suffered, because I had to prepare for a war, which I didn't really want to. I wanted to actually build up a navy and get some better techs, but instead I had to go for some military techs and psychology for reinforcements. Couldn't commit that many techs to industry. Ideally I would like to have railroads all over the country, but not only that I didn't have money, but also didn't have time to research that. Also, commerce techs. Really, the reason that my country sucks so much at this point is that I have no commerce tax, and commerce tax make money for you. Not industry, not anything else, but commerce really, in the early game, and up until the very late game where you have a lot of factories, then it's industry, but until that point it's really commerce. And also I had to encourage soldiers instead of encouraging craftsmen all the way. It's a really annoying thing, but it was necessary, really. So mostly economic warfare, because I was constantly running on low money, and I had to mobilize a few times because I thought Austria might be breaking the truce or attacking me earlier than I thought they would, and that cost a lot of money, and also pops are promoting less. But anyway, at the moment it seems like I'm making 950, but it's actually not true, because not only the game will balance in a few weeks once I run it, but also also I'm receiving a lot of war subs. So without war subs, this war would be I wouldn't be able to fight this war without war subs at all. So quickly, summary of this war. Germany didn't really expect France to join my side, but then France mobilized, and I'm gonna put some troops on the Belgian border. And the first major offensive in this war was actually, let me show you the war first. So what happened was Austria declaring war on me, and then German Empire and Ottoman Empire this time joining immediately. Belgium joining very quickly, and Japan joining as soon as Russia joined. Scandinavia joined a bit later. On my side, Russia joined immediately. France joined a bit later, a few days. USA joined maybe 2 or 3 months ago, so they are really no factor in this war. And Persia joining, I think, just the moment the session ended. So Persia wasn't fighting here actually. At the most point, for the most time, they ignored Russian front, because Russia didn't actually decide to declare a separate war in Poland-Lithuania, which was kind of their plan, because they didn't want to open up another front. And so Russia was actually ignored for the most of the early days of the war, and instead they tried to push heavily into Italy. But there is a huge mistake they made. I intentionally left Udine to them, because I realized my lines would overstretch, kind of, even though it's probably a better defensive position than Venice. I was worried about Ottoman Navy really, because the Ottomans and Austria had, actually Austria didn't have larger navy than me, but Ottomans had a huge navy, and in the beginning of the war, French navy wasn't in a good position to fight Ottoman navy, so I was worried that Austria might use their transports and land troops behind me or engage into several battles behind my lines, which would be devastating, so I just let them take Udine, whatever, don't really care much about that. So they engaged into battles in Venice and Treviso. They took some very, very serious losses. Soon they needed reinforcements from Ottoman Empire and Germany. Meanwhile in France, I was actually very worried about the French front. They lost Dunkirk and they lost Lille, which is going to be a serious issue, and I'll talk about that later on. But then after that, after losing those two battles, they managed to stabilize their front, so it's actually kind of okay now. Now once again, upon receiving enough reinforcements from Germany, Austria and Ottoman Empire tried to launch another offensive, and they again lost a huge battle in Treviso. After that I realized, well, since they are losing so many troops, why don't I try to do something? And actually my first offensive was on Trent, and since their troops were exhausted, I actually managed to take it quite easily, because their troops couldn't reinforce in time, and Bozen troops actually were running on low morale, so they just retreated. And this is great because not only I reduce width of the front, but also Trent is much easier to defend than Verona or Brescia. So Trent has hills instead of farmlands, which is much easier to defend. Front is also more narrow, so overall much better position. Also I'm occupying their territory, so that's always a good thing. After that I tried to launch an offensive into Udine, and what I tried was actually, since we beaten Austrian Navy and France managed to blockade and capture basically Ottoman Navy here, we can't really force them out of there because they have some defensive forces in, what's it called, Bolut. So we can't fight them at the moment, even though we would really like to destroy Ottoman Navy. I brought my navy here and used some transporters to land my troops behind the battle. So I had troops in Gorica and Klagenfurt while the huge battle was going into Udine. So even though I was taking some losses in Udine, I still continued pumping troops there, because they couldn't reinforce the battle, and also they couldn't retreat from that battle. So if they actually lost that battle, they would lose like 6 stacks or something like that, and that would be a huge blow, and that's basically losing the war for them. If they lost that battle at that point, without being able to retreat, they would just lose the war. It's over. Because Austria can't defend there. So that was a huge blow for them, and once again Germany had to send more reinforcements to Austrian front, drawing some troops from France and basically stabilizing that front for us. So they somehow managed to beat my troops. Actually, I didn't really have that many troops here because I just sent mobilized troops, and they are very bad at fighting to blockade those provinces. So in the end I did lose that battle, even though I actually think I inflicted more losses to them than they did to me, which is a great thing always. But also due to those battles, not only French front stabilized, but also Russia was able to push a huge amount of territories into Ottoman and Romanian land, because first of all Germany wasn't there to reinforce, Austria had only few troops there, and also Ottomans committed to Italian front. So Russia looks really in a very strong shape at the moment, and it seems like this war is going well for us. Scandinavia also joined because I didn't mention that I took Liberia from, well, basically Liberia, though they were protected by USA. USA didn't, actually I was using that UK war for my gains because USA couldn't commit to that, and also took Dutch Ghana. So Scandinavia doesn't really like me for that. It seems like we are doing okay in this war at the moment. But unfortunately, for some reason, I don't know why, Russia called in USA into our side. USA, not only that they're not going to provide any help for us anytime soon, but also what this means is that UK will most likely be joining their side. UK was inclined to stay neutral in this war, because why would they ever commit to anything here? The war seemed like a perfectly balanced one, even though we were kind of winning slightly. No one was actually going to become very strong after this war, because every country will be very exhausted. So UK actually could take some time and industrialize. They are back to #1 industrial power, taking it back from Germany. But now that USA is in the war and that's their mortal enemy, they will be joining Germany most likely. They still might stay neutral, but we'll see. Now, UK joining their side is going to be a lot of trouble for us, because we need to send some more reinforcements to French front, and that also means that my offensive against Austria probably won't be happening right now, so we have to count on Russia to be kicking swiftly Ottomans and Germans and any enemies here, and we really need Russia to win this war for us. Don't think there is anything that France and me can do at this point. Now, bear in mind that Spain and Netherlands weren't actually there for this session, and we can still count on their help, even though Netherlands, I don't think they would be in a great shape. I think they should just stay neutral. If that's actually what I would do if I was playing Netherlands. But Spain might join us. I'm not sure what they could gain from attacking us, but we'll see. Spain was kind of allied to me. They helped into war, so I'm counting on that, and I hope they will join us, because that would make this war much more balanced if UK decides to join their side. So, very interesting upcoming session. Hopefully, I really hope this war doesn't go for a very long time, even though there is one good thing about war going for a very long time. So if this war lasts for another 10 years, then colonization will start in some 3 to 4 years, because machine guns are discovered in the 1870s, and what machine guns do is they give you colonial negotiations. That means colonization. And I'm actually in a pretty good shape right now for colonization. Ottomans had a huge navy, and I'm not sure if they lost too many ships, but I'm also occupying some of the naval bases, so they actually lost some naval score, and that is going to cost them. They're basically my biggest enemy in the colonization, so we'll see what happens there. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next part.